18 years ago, most of us here watched the world change in an instant. I was standing in front of my TV watching one of those 4 planes fly into that second tower. And that second tower didn't just hit that building, it hit my faith. And that building burned for a while and crumbled, and my faith burned for a few days, and then it crumbled. My view of God, my view of good and evil, my view of the world, my view of myself changed in vast ways, and I was in a period of darkness. My name is Daren Allee, and I'm here today because God didn't give up on me when I gave up on Him. I'm an engineer. I graduated from A&M. I solve math problems and logic problems. Theological studies was not my thing. And that'll become clear as I get into this presentation. I work daily with people who are angry at a God that they don't believe in, and angry at a church that they hold as irrelevant. I understand them now. I can sit and visit with them. I can engage with them. You see, I thought I had answers. But the truth is, I hadn't started searching yet. And I didn't even have the right questions all the time. A lot of times the questions I asked were the wrong questions. See, I thought God was trying to make a people that could robotically fulfill His law as it was laid out. That the law was His goal. But God began to show me at that point that His goal was to create a people who could bear His image in this world. That the law, I should understand, is an instrument for fulfilling that purpose. So for 15 years, I resisted coming to a place like this because I wanted to hear God's voice clearly. But then on a road trip from California to Texas with Daniel Napier, I began to have these dialogues with him. And he said, "You should go read Irenaeus." Well, Irenaeus is a 2nd century patristic father. And so I went to Half Price Books. I happened to find his Against Heresies. It's a book about this thick. And did I tell you I was an engineer? Books good. I mean, math good. Books bad. So I got the book and I cracked it open, and it sat on my nightstand for several years. And but God kept pushing me and saying, "No, you need to be responsible for this gift I've given you. You need to," and He urged me to take this seriously, and that I had a responsibility. This gift He had given me was not just for me, that it was for others. So about 3 years ago, I enrolled in the school, and the first class I took was Dr. Napier's Introduction to Theology. Cheryl was there with me. My wife began to join me with it, this has been our date nights for 3 years here now. Has been coming to class. And so I picked up that book, and he allowed me to do a research paper on it, and he asked me for 10 pages. Long story short, I gave him 40. I couldn't throw any of it away. I think Napier probably did throw it away. I think he just graded it on the weight, probably. But it was enlightening and eye-opening, and a sense of discovery that this person who wrote 18 centuries ago could speak to me in a way that was relevant to me today. My second class was with Dr. Hall, and he walked me into the library downstairs, and he said, "This is a library." The only thing I recognized was the little cubicles over here where you could do math problems. And so I thought, wow, I'm in over my head here. Where do I even start? And so I moved from my first research paper on Irenaeus. My second one was on Dawkins, Richard Dawkins. And he told me 10 pages. I gave him 16. I only kept it to 2 topics. And so I thought I was doing better. I was getting there. He had to give it to his wife to read because it was more biology related than theologically related. But this place has been a place where I could grow, where I could find the gifts and the calling of God on my life and express that and learn to live in that and to find how God was speaking to me and moving me. And then I went to Dr. Ship's class. Where'd Dr. Ship go? There he is. And he began to open the Old Testament to me and to show me where to dig and also where not to dig necessarily sometimes. And he reminded me of how God describes a faithful scribe, that he brought out of his storehouses treasures new and treasures old. And in the Old Testament, which God had already begun to open to me in new ways, I began to see Christ revealed in such powerful and beautiful ways. And then I went to Stangelin's class, and in that church history class, I began to understand. I got to see myself and why I think the way I think, for one. And I began to hear voices from the past 2,000 years of the church, and to see how God has worked, sometimes despite ourselves, throughout history, to bring us to a place where we could bear His image in this world. I heard Justin Martyr, his voice, and I saw how much he knew the Old Testament. And I began to realize how irresponsible I have been with the gift that God has given us in His Word. And I felt compelled to dig deeper. I was introduced to the Apostolic Fathers and began to dig in the fountains that they gave. And it was beautiful. He introduced me to philosophers. And again, Christian philosophers and atheist philosophers that brought ideas that I needed to deal with, that I needed to think about. 2 millennia of ideas and thoughts and voices have been good places to dig and to learn and to grow. I took the Interpreting the Bible class, and I did an exegesis on Hebrews, and I came out of that. It's like doing an exegesis on exegesis when you dig into Hebrews. And I said, when did we stop reading the Bible this way? This is what I came out of Hebrews with, because the Hebrew writer, his exegesis is novel. He reads the Old Testament. He sees Christ everywhere. And I was just amazed. And so the Old Testament just began to blossom for me. And then I went to Peterson's class, and he gave me confidence that what's been passed down to us from Paul and the apostles is solid. We stand on firm ground, and the context that they wrote in is relevant to the context that we live in today. The world is not the same world that it was 18 years ago. I think the world had started changing long before then. Maybe I was just slow to recognize it. We no longer can stand in the pulpits and expect to reach the world. We need to sit around the tables with the tax collectors and the sinners and the engineers and have those dialogues and listen and hear their questions and hear how hear the voice that God has given in them too, that He's drawing all men to Himself. We need to learn to listen. We need to learn to ask the right questions. And we need to learn how to encourage those that follow us to pursue a God that hasn't stopped pursuing us. And Austin Grad has been that for me. It's been a place of equipping. It's been a place of learning to hear and to listen and to receive the voices that have come from the past. It's been a place to learn to sit around a table at work and to be able to hear the questions, the sincere questions of others, of engineers who struggle, to sit at, I'm an elder at the university church now, and to be able to sit with college students who have real questions and to be able to listen and to give them guidance and to point them, as all these professors have done for me, to where, look here, and here's some ideas, and here's some thoughts, and to equip them for digging, for searching on their own. And so I owe a great debt to Austin Grad, to those who have laid this foundation, to those who continue to bear the torch here. I owe a great debt. And so I looked up the Austin Grad mission statement just before I came. And Austin Grad is doing all of it. They're promoting knowledge and understanding, the practice of Christian faith as taught in the Scriptures. And I'm going to expand it just a little bit. That we might bear the image of God more perfectly to a world whose image God bore unto death. Thank you all.